Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Point by Point Tennis Podcast. We're doing another live, and today we're going to be covering the results from the tournaments that happened a few weeks ago. We had 4 tournaments and 3 on the ATP side of things, and then the Stuttgart on the women's side. So we're going to be covering Barcelona, where Carlos Alcaraz defeated Stefanos Tsitsipas to win the title and defend his title there in Barcelona. We also had Banja Luka, where we had a surprising winner in Dusan Lajovic. He beat Andrei Rublev in the final, and along the way, he also beat Novak Djokovic. So really good week there from Lajovic. And in Munich, we had Rune basically surviving that match against Botic van de Zandschulp to defend his title there as well. And in the women's side, it's Iga coming back to the clay and Iga winning another title on the clay. So she beats Sabalenka, which I think was a really necessary win for Iga in terms of the narrative of this year for her. So good win for her there. And then after that, we're going to talk about Madrid, which is happening right now, where we have already up to the round of 16 for the men and for the quarterfinals for the women. So we're going to talk about some of the results, highlights of the tournaments thus far. And we're also going to preview what's coming up in the next rounds. We have some really good ones. I think the highlight for me of the next matches is a rematch of the Madrid final of last year in Alexander Zverev and Carlos Alcaraz. That's a round of 16 match. So
that's going to be interesting.
That's going to be a really good one. And apart from that, we're going to talk a little bit about some injury updates with Rafa Nadal and Matteo Berrettini. And finally, a bit of a discussion on some of the news that we've seen, or one of the things that we wanted to discuss was, what do we think about Masters 1000 events being a bit longer now that we have Madrid, which is the first of the tournaments that are going to implement sort of the same type of structure that Indian Wells and Miami has with the longer, like almost 2 weeks of tournament. So what do we think of it? And also talk about the news that dropped about line judges being completely gone by 2025. That's a pretty big one.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about all of this, and we'll end the show with some ATP and some WTA trivia. We're going to put our co-host Jish on the spot, and we'll see if he'll be able to get some points from this. So without further ado, I'll try. I have an easy one, but we'll see if you can follow up after that. But without further ado, we'll talk about some of the results that happened a few weeks ago or a week and a half ago in Barcelona. Let's start there. It was an ATP 500 event where Carlos Alcaraz continues his amazing year, and he takes out Stefanos Tsitsipas in the final in straight sets. And I'm gonna open the floor to you to see what do you think about that? What do you think about that final and just how Alcaraz continues to look?
Yeah, Alcaraz looked amazing. I mean, it looks like he didn't even drop a set.
Yeah.
Which is quite impressive. And he defended his title, right? This is his first time defending a title.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is his first time defending a title.
So, it's quite impressive. I mean, he's only, 19 years old?
Yeah.
Still a teenager?
Yeah.
He played so well. I think in that last match against Tsitsipas, he was at sometimes it felt like he was toying around.
Yeah.
He was hitting these drop shots, several times, like in the games. I mean, I think it's he's just so comfortable reading the opponent and being able to just get them off balanced or just wrong-footed. Yeah, we were talking about this before the podcast, but it almost seems like he has this sense. He's figured the other player out, and he's able to just be creative and play his game in pretty effortlessly. So
yeah,
But I was actually kind of disappointed with Tsitsipas too in that final match. But yeah, great job. I think he's clearly right now one of the favorites going into these next tournaments, as I think also in Roland Garros. I don't know the status of Nadal, but right now Alcaraz looks like a prime contender.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you 100% with I guess the tennis IQ of Carlos Alcaraz,
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
the
so-
way that he's able to read the situation and think on the fly, and not only that, but just execute as well. Because it's one thing to be able to read the situation, but it's a very different thing to be able to
Very.
execute right, and split second decision making, and he's just a master at it. The way that he played this final reminded me a lot of the final that he played against Medvedev in Indian Wells, which is another tournament where he didn't drop a set and he looked amazing. This tournament was a little different. I think Alcaraz looked a little shaky early in the tournament, but he definitely saved his best level for the semifinals and the final. He absolutely crushed Daniel Evans in the semifinals, and I mean that's a mismatch, right? I mean Evans did great to actually reach
I was happy that he got
the
that far.
semifinal.
Actually.
Yeah. Having won against Cerundolo, who
It's a
you
good
probably would have expected him to win that. So really good win for Evans there, but it's just doesn't match well with Alcaraz on the clay. Alcaraz just has too much time on the clay. And when he has that amount of time where he can be creative, where he can do his drop shots,
He's also hitting really big.
hitting big, hitting confidently.
Yeah.
His serve is so improved as well. Definitely still room for improvement.
Even in the past few months, you've noticed?
Oh, yeah. Like, I think this year it has been, particularly since Indian Wells, because I think still when he came back in Rio and in Buenos Aires, his serve, it was still not, it was kind of like last year a little bit, but definitely since Indian Wells, his serve has taken a huge jump. He's winning cheap points. I mean, the biggest match for me in terms of how his serve really saved him a lot was that semifinal in Indian Wells against Sinner, where neither of them were playing really great. It was probably the worst match they played in their encounters. But the reason Alcaraz was able to get ahead is because his serve was bailing him out a lot. And that's something that he just never had that last year.
Yeah.
So it's good to see that he's able to now incorporate that serve into his arsenal and use it as a weapon. So the things he did in this final against Tsitsipas were just disgusting. Like the way that he could just pound Tsitsipas's backhand. His backhand return is really bad. Like it's starting to, and I've seen Tsitsipas play now other players, and they are picking up on it. And we're gonna talk about the match that he played with Thiem, but in that match with Thiem, one of the things that really was highlighted was that he served like 90% to the backhand in the first set when he won that first set. And I see that pattern all the time. I see Alcaraz doing that.
Everyone's doing it. Yeah.
Everyone's starting to do that. It's starting to become, a big, not a secret anymore that's the way to beat him. Still, he made the final. You got to give him credit to be able to make the final the way that he did. He had wins against Diminar. He beat Musetti in the semifinal, who was actually playing pretty well so far on the clay. Musetti, how he plays on the clay. He gets a lot of confidence there. He actually beat Shapovalov pretty comfortably as well. So, he is still showing that he is one of the best clay court players in the world. But when you see him play against Alcaraz, it gives me the same feeling that I saw when he played Djokovic in the Australian Open final, where I just knew that there was no way he was going to win that. Like in my feelings, right? Like I didn't really feel like he was going to be able to win that. And that's what it's starting to feel like when he plays Alcaraz. He's 0-4 against Alcaraz now.
His level's not there. Right?
It's starting to become a bit of a baggage against him. And he doesn't match up well because of that. Because Alcaraz is very similar to Federer, to Nadal, to Djokovic. All the greats. What they do is once they find a weakness, they're going to hammer you on that weakness. I just remember when Nadal won the Australian Open last year, he played the semifinal against Berrettini. He was just peppering that backhand, like just abusing it. Like I felt so bad.
And you should.
But yeah, you should. I mean, if you have that much of a weakness, like you gotta exploit it, right? So I feel like that's one thing that Tsitsipas really, he has to work on this. Probably in the off season is where he can actually work on this, because tennis just, it doesn't stop, right? There's tournaments every week. It's tough to work on something like that during the season.
Sometimes it'll click.
Yeah, sometimes it can click.
You can improve, but right, if you really want to iron things out, sometimes you just need a break. Somewhere in the schedule to do it. But let's see. I mean, he's still getting to the final.
Yeah.
So.
And that's the thing with Tsitsipas. He is this kind of guy. Like, I think last year we were talking about this, right? Where he was having these results, where he was making finals. He was playing great on the clay. He won Monte Carlo last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I kept saying I just don't feel like there's something off, right? He was still one of the.
What do you think about his level now compared to back then?
I think it's the same.
The same?
I think he's stagnated.
I think it's a little worse.
It might be. It might be a little worse. Yeah. Definitely not better, for sure. I mean, I feel like he's either stagnated and then other players have just gotten better around him.
Okay.
Because you see the players that are passing him by now. It's the younger players, right? You see Rune beating him a few times. Alcaraz has beaten him 4 times in a row, right?
Yeah.
And he's still not able to consistently win against the big guys like Medvedev, especially like Djokovic. I mean, Djokovic, his head-to-head against Djokovic is just really bad. So it's tough for him to be competitive against the very, very best players.
Think it's mental?
I don't think so. I think he's just. I think his backhand. I think his backhand is a huge liability. Huge, and particularly the backhand return. Like he's one of the players that least breaks among the top players. He's actually very good serving. I mean, his serve and forehand are probably the best, in the top 5 in tennis. Like when he gets his first serve in and he's able to dictate with the forehand, it's great. And the thing with him is that he has a lot of variety. You can see him playing his drop shots. He's comfortable at net. That is the one thing that if you would have asked me a few years ago, who do you think ultimately is going to win more slams, Medvedev, Tsitsipas, and Zverev? I would have said Tsitsipas just because he had more things. Like he could play at net. You saw how Medvedev, when Nadal came back against him, he could not buy a volley. Yeah. He could not buy a volley in that match. He is a very one-dimensional player. He's good at that dimension, very good at it, right? He plays from the baseline. He plays defense. He plays percentage tennis. He doesn't go too big, but he's very consistent. That's his thing, right? But I felt like to be like an all-time great like that, you have to be more. You need more in your game, right? Mm-hmm. And I felt like Tsitsipas was the guy that had that, right? He has the big serve. He can dictate with the forehand. He moves really well. He plays really well at net. He can volley. He can throw in some drop shots. I mean, he's not Alcaraz, but he can throw in some drop shots. But Alcaraz really exposed him. It was hammering of the backhand, and then he had like 12 drop shot winners in the match against Tsitsipas. It was incredible the way he just dissected him.
Honestly, I mean, Alcaraz was playing great, and then you see those drop shots, and Tsitsipas is not even running.
He's not even trying though. Yeah,
at some point. Yeah.
It's true. I mean, to be fair, the majority of them he had no shot, but you still want to see the intent of trying to get it. I felt like
some of them he actually could have.
He could have some of them. Yeah. But I think he was just demoralized probably the way. I mean, we saw there was highlights of the match in Madrid of Mark Alcaraz and Dimitrov, the way he ended the match.
Oh yeah,
with that drop shot.
Yeah,
absolutely crazy. I mean, it just breaks you mentally,
I know. At first, I was watching the highlight reel and he was fist pumping after that drop shot. You normally don't see a fist pump or something. I was like, whoa. Okay. Well, the whole match ended. Okay, that makes sense. Yep. I haven't seen a drop shot winner on match point for a long time.
Yeah. No, it tells you that the variety that Alcaraz brings along with the power. So no surprises that he wins the title in Barcelona and defends his title there. There was a few other events in Banja Luka, Munich as well in the men's side. But before we move there, anything you want to bring up apart from Barcelona? The one thing that I do want to talk about is Sinner.
Yeah.
So Sinner did withdraw from this tournament because of illness, I believe. I think he was he
wasn't feeling good. Yeah.
Yeah, he was sick. It wasn't injured at all.
Sick, yeah.
He wasn't injured, so that's a good sign. So for me, when I saw this happen, I kind of saw it as a blessing in disguise in a way.
He needs to rest.
I think he needs to rest.
Yeah.
I mean, he has played so many tournaments in a row.
He's been playing great.
And he's been playing great, so he's been reaching the final stages and playing a lot of tennis. I think this was the moment to take a break and then regroup and come back in Rome and be ready for the French. I think that's perfect scheduling there. Alcaraz, he did have a break because he didn't play Monte Carlo. So it makes more sense that he played Barcelona and continues to play. But I think Sinner did need to take a break at some point. And it's good that, like I said, blessing in disguise that he got sick against Musetti. And
so he's not playing Madrid.
He's not playing Madrid. He pulled out after he retired from the Barcelona Open. So he's not playing in Madrid. He's going to take a break, and hopefully he'll come strong in Rome. And that's what I want to see. Hopefully a lot of players are going to come back in Rome. So it'll be interesting.
Well, that's also his home country.
Yeah, it would be exciting to see him play there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get some good crowds.
Yeah.
Home support.
Cool. So apart from Barcelona, like I mentioned, there's other tournaments in Banja Luka and in Munich. Maybe let's start with Banja Luka, where Dusan Lajovic had a really, really good tournament. He beat, I guess we can call it, defending champion in Rublev. This is a different tournament, but
switched, right?
Yeah, so this tournament,
the Serbian Open.
Yeah, this is usually the Serbian Open, and it will go back to the Serbian Open. The reason that they're playing in Banja Luka this year, which is this is usually a challenger level event.
Yeah.
The reason they're playing is because they're remodeling the other, because I think they want to upgrade it to a 500. So there is some, behind the scenes stuff, right? There is some rules where you have to have a certain amount of venue space and allowance for crowds to be considered a 500 level event. So they needed to expand the tournament, and for this year they just needed to move it to be able to do that expansion essentially. So this year they're playing Banja Luka, but technically, right, the defending champion of this calendar event is Rublev, and he was in the final again. So actually, going into these four tournaments, all four finals had a potential of having defending champions. Every single one of the tournaments. That's very rare.
That is
to see the same. Yeah. So it was cool to see that. But this was the only tournament where the defending champion did not win. So great tournament from Lajovic. I think the biggest win for him definitely was beating Djokovic, right?
Yeah.
So. Yeah, any thoughts on Lajovic, on his week, the final, or anything else?
Yeah, he's playing. He's raised his level.
Yeah,
obviously, and he's had some top 10 wins, I guess. Right. So back to back. I mean, not back to back, but in the past few weeks. So I mean, he's playing real well. I mean, I didn't expect that. Did you expect that?
No way.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he's good on clay, but you can't expect him to beat Djokovic, right?
But
especially being Serbian. I mean, that's been very difficult for Serbian players
to play against
Djokovic because they revere him so much, and they get so much pressure playing against him.
Yeah, I'd definitely say this is not Djokovic's best performance either.
Oh, correct.
He's not playing his top form. I don't know what really happened. I mean, I don't know how to phrase it. So maybe his injury is bothering him again.
He is injured for sure.
Okay. Did that already come out?
Yeah.
They talking about
He has an elbow injury.
Elbow again.
Yeah, and that is concerning. Yeah. So last year, normally what I would say is, Djokovic lost in this tournament. Doesn't matter. He usually loses on the clay early on, and he finds his footing in Rome. Like that's where he actually traditionally does well. And then he also always does well in the Roland Garros, and typically just runs into Nadal, right, or somebody similar in that stage. Team a few times he's run into him, a few times against Federer. So he only loses to the best of the best at Roland Garros, and he usually wins Rome. If Nadal doesn't win Rome, Djokovic is winning Rome. It's been them for the past I don't know how many years.
Yeah.
So it's this is like par for the course, except for the fact that there's the injury, right? And you remember when he was injured. I can't remember what the year it was. It was 2017 for sure, because that's the year that Federer came back, right? And Nadal.
During the U.S. Open when he.
Yeah, so it was 16 and 17 probably, where he got the injuries. Because I remember when he got the injury, that's when Federer and Nadal like took over for a while, right? Again. Yeah. So he was horrible. Like
no, he wasn't playing well.
When he came back, I thought he was done. Like seriously, it looked so bad. And I remember talking to my dad about this when it happened. It's like Djokovic looks like he's on his way out of the tennis. It was that bad. So I hope that this is not something like that. It's way too early to say anything on that regard, right? So I'm just going to assume that this is just a nagging injury and he'll be back for now.
Yeah, he is wearing that sleeve on the elbow.
But for now, it is something to be concerned about, I would say. I am more worried this year than I was last year about his whole situation. Because last year, he did come into Madrid, right? He did play that classic match against Alcaraz in the semifinals of Madrid. So he already looked good in Madrid.
He did. You're right.
And then he ended up winning Rome the week after. So this year that's not happening. He didn't even enter Madrid because of the injury. So he's probably gonna play Rome, but I am a little bit more concerned about Djokovic this time around. And it's funny because I was watching both matches like on two screens because Alcaraz was playing. I can't remember who he was. Oh, he was playing Davidovich Fokina. On one screen, I had it. On the other screen, I had Lajovic against Djokovic. And I could not believe the delta in power. Like, it felt like I was watching a challenger level event on this side and, like, a Grand Slam match on the other. It was, like, that different. And, in Lajovic's side, he is not a power player. He plays, not a lot of pace, but he's good at, he has good tennis IQ. He moves the ball around the court very well. He can hit the ball cross court. He can hit the ball down the line. So he serves really well as well. So he can play percentages tennis, but he's not gonna blow you away, right? But what was surprising is that Djokovic was playing the same way, and I was like, that's not Djokovic. Djokovic is usually like hitting the crap out of the forehand, right? His forehand has become a big weapon for him. So he couldn't like drive through the forehand, and it was just very, very weird to see side by side. But we'll see. We'll see what happens in Rome.
Is he? Yeah, I guess he's still on for Rome, right?
He's still on for Rome. He hasn't pulled out, so
okay.
We'll see what happens. But this really does change things for me in terms of who is the definite favorite for Roland Garros. I think right now, you got to be crazy to not put Alcaraz as your favorite,
top,
right? To win that tournament. And then, obviously, pending what Nadal does. If he comes back, if he so much as sniffs the court on Roland Garros, he is the favorite. I don't care what. If he hasn't played anything, I mean.
He's training.
Every single year,
Instagram.
Every single year, I think this is the year. I mean, he's not in shape. He's lost. Last year, he lost didn't he lose to Shapovalov, who had like a gigantic losing streak, and he lost to him in Rome. It looked terrible, right? And he came. What did he do in Roland Garros? He just wiped the floor with everyone there, right? So that's what he does. So I'll revise my picks if he actually if he actually plays Roland Garros. But right now, even between Alcaraz and Djokovic, anybody else, to me it's Alcaraz at the moment. So we'll see moving forward. But that's Banjaluka. What do you think about Lajovic and Rublev? Rublev, another final.
Yeah, he's playing well on clay.
Yeah,
And I in my mind I don't think of him much as a clay player for some reason, but
Yeah.
he's actually really good on clay.
He's very good on clay.
Yeah,
I think clay really suits him
he
because
gets some more time.
he doesn't. Yeah, he needs that time because he's not the fastest player on court, but he knows how to move on clay. So the fact that he has a little bit more time to set up his forehand, that's huge for him because his forehand is his weapon.
Massive.
So he plays really well. I mean, he won Monte Carlo. Now he makes the final here in Banja Luka. I don't know, but it's weird with Rublev, right? Like, does he change in your mind as one of the contenders moving forward? Like, does these two results?
Roland Garros?
Yeah. No, right?
I
But
don't-
he's playing. He cannot be playing better, right? He made the first two finals of the clay events. He won the big event.
The Monte Carlo plays closer to Roland Garros than any of the others.
Yeah. Well, I would say, it's a
Right.
tie between Monte Carlo and Rome.
Rome.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, right? But the thing is that
No.
I still
I
don't
don't see
feel like it.
I think
Why
it's different.
is that? Like,
best out of 5, maybe.
maybe because, stars aligned a little bit in Monte Carlo. Like, he played Fritz in the semifinal, which, it's great for Fritz because, he hasn't played that great on the clay traditionally, and that's a great result. But, then he played the winner of Sinner and Rune, who they went to battle, right, in that semifinal. And Rune is still, a little bit immature. So you can, he imploded in that match. He was way in the driver's seat. He almost won a double break in that final set, and he somehow blew that, right? So a little bit of stars aligning, I think, for Rublev, but he doesn't fundamentally look different as a player, and that's why I feel like
We'll see. Maybe he'll break out.
I'll have to see him do something big in Madrid to change my mind,
Yeah.
in terms of his perspective. But yeah, that's Banja Luka. Anything else before we move to Munich?
I think we're ready to move on.
Okay.
Let's do
So moving on to Munich, speaking of Rune, Holger Rune defends his title. This was the moment where he came into my radar, at least, in that title, because he beat Alexander Zverev in the second round, I believe, to get to the final and win his first title ever, right? That last year. So that's the first time he came into my radar, and I was going to be interested to see if he and Zverev played again, because
it didn't happen.
But then it didn't happen because Zverev, I think he lost in the first round, right? In the first round that he played.
The first round he
Second
played
round.
O'Connell.
Against O'Connell. So who ended up having a pretty good tournament, actually. Went to the semifinals? Yeah, he went to the semifinals, so good result for O'Connell there, but a bit disappointing for Zverev. But let's talk about the final, because this final, I was on a plane to a conference, and the match between Iga and Sabalenka in Stuttgart was done, so they switched it over to this, and I could not have, like, I want to be fair to athletes, right? Because, I'm here behind a microphone. I'm no athlete at all. I cannot be, like, super harsh judging players. So the word choke, I don't like to use it as much. But if you're ever going to use the word choke, it is what happened with Botic Van Zandschulp in that final against Rune. It was appalling to watch that. I mean, in the final set, he was up. He served for the match 3 times. Not once, not twice, 3 times. And Rune had a leg injury. He could not hit a forehand. Like, he had a shoulder injury. And he was literally just moonballing the forehand because he couldn't do anything with it. And somehow Botic just cannot find his forehand. He kept hitting it to his backhand, which is a world-class backhand, and he was getting hurt by it. So I'm not sure what happened with him, but you could see, like, this is the most drastic that I've ever seen a player change in terms of being loose versus being tense. Like, you know how sometimes people say, like, when you're tense, it's a little harder to hit your technique well.
Absolutely.
This was the most easy. Like, it was the easiest example to see that happen with Botic Van Zandschulp. So I just felt terrible for this guy.
That's tough.
Because he had a good tournament. I mean, he beat Taylor Fritz in the semifinals to get to that final. straight sets, and he beat also Marcos Giron,
Yeah.
and Aslan
Karatsev.
Karatsev. He just absolutely destroyed him. So he had some really good wins in this tournament, and got to the final with a lot of confidence. He actually played. This is the thing that really makes me think that it was actually a choke, right? So last year, this final was the same final as last year.
Wow.
It was Van de Zandschulp and Rune, and Rune won because Van de Zandschulp retired with respiratory issues.
Oh gosh.
And people think that maybe he just actually had a panic attack, like he couldn't deal with the moment.
Situation.
Yeah. So it looks like this
He's
the
been-
opportunity of a lifetime for him, right? To win a title. He's never won a title on the ATP tour. So it would have been his
Big
first
if he
title.
won it,
And against a guy like Rune, who was really established right now in the top 10.
yeah.
So that would have been a huge win. His biggest win of his career would have been. And
I mean,
he
he
just
won
couldn't
that
do it.
second set 6-1.
yeah.
Wow.
You know what's funny in that second set? Apparently Rune couldn't get his tennis his racket strung in time.
No.
And he just like got annoyed, and he was like played anyway, and just threw away the set. Like so you can see that his age coming up there in that second set. And that's why he lost against Rublev, honestly, in Monte Carlo, because he's still, compared to another 19-year-old, he's not the same, right?
You're comparing him to an Alcaraz.
Comparing him to Alcaraz, they're both 19, but they're
They're both-
definitely not. They're both not the same level of maturity, right? But his tennis is spectacular.
Yeah, he's playing well.
When he's on, he has so many weapons. He has no weaknesses. Like how we were talking about how Tsitsipas, you could just target his backhand. Same thing with Berrettini. Maybe on the women's side, you can target Coco Gauff's forehand. But a guy like Rune, his only weakness is his brain, right? If his brain is good, you can't target anything, because his backhand is amazing, his forehand is amazing, he can serve great, his movement is almost as good as Alcaraz. He's very, very quick, especially on the clay courts. So he's really good. So it's good for him. He defended his title in Munich, and I think with the results being in the final in Monte Carlo and winning the title in Munich, he positions himself right to be as one of the contenders for Roland Garros. Probably not the top contender, but it's an outside chance. I think it's possible for him to win Roland Garros, in my opinion. So yeah, I think it's a good result from Rune. And on the other side of things, Zverev losing early on. I don't know if he has like some pressure from playing this tournament, because it's at home. So I don't know. Like it's the second year in a row where he loses. I mean, granted, he lost last year to Rune, so that in hindsight, that was not that bad of a loss. But this year, not the greatest, right? So yeah, I think Zverev is still a little inconsistent, but now that we've started Madrid, we have a little bit more information. Maybe not too concerning that he lost early on in this tournament in Munich.
Yeah. He seemed to be playing well in Madrid so far. So
cool.
Yeah, let's.
Anything else? Move on to Stuttgart.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. So in Stuttgart, we had
the
Porsche event.
Event.
We had we had the defending champion in Stuttgart, Iga Swiatek, taking on probably the best player of the year. Is that fair to call? Maybe a toss-up between her and Rybakina.
Yeah.
And Sabalenka. And I think, Iga winning this title again, defending her title in Stuttgart. I think this was a statement win, and I think it was a very much needed win for Iga in here, because even though she hasn't really lost to Sabalenka that much, I mean, she lost to her last year at the tour finals. But in general, their head-to-head is very one-sided to Iga. Honestly, I felt like the narrative was big hitters are targeting Iga, right?
Yeah.
Especially Rybakina has showed that twice. And they can disrupt her.
I don't think Iga has figured out Rybakina.
Right. So it was really important that a player like Sabalenka, who kind of have the same recipe as a Rybakina, that she's gonna try to disrupt you with her power, that Iga was able to prove to herself that she can handle it. At least on her favorite surface.
Yeah.
So it was good performance from her. Any thoughts you wanna talk about?
Oh yeah, I think this is big for Iga.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those. I mean, she's been struggling. I mean, she hasn't been struggling, like tennis wise, other than facing these top players,
Yeah.
right? So Zabalenka and Rybakina, and it's her home turf now, right? I mean, in terms of the soil, the clay courts.
Yeah.
So she's moving very well. I mean, I'm very impressed. Every time I see her on clay, I'm so impressed how well she moves.
She moves. It's
And
crazy
she's
how
able
well
to
she moves.
like get some crazy defensive shots. Like,
Yeah.
as scrappy as a player as you can, a scrappy player, as scrappy as of a player you can think of. Like, I sometimes see her in that way. Like,
Yeah.
but she's able to like just dig balls out. It kind of reminds me of Medvedev,
Yeah.
but obviously not with the height. But
Yeah.
she's reaching and like
Mm-hmm.
stretching, but she's sliding so well.
She slides into her
And
shots
Slides
crazy
all the
well.
time. And I think that's one thing that, I mean, she tries to do it on the hard courts, but
She does
gets-
it. It's
she
not the
does.
same though.
it's not the same. But
Yeah.
you can see her sliding for like feet at a time. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh my gosh, okay.
Yeah.
And she recovers and somehow
Yeah.
gets back into the point, hits some big shots. And
The thing that's
Um,
crazy about it is that she can slide into those shots that are, defensive shots, but she can hit like a very powerful shot. Like,
yeah,
it's not a defensive lob.
sometimes they're
It's
defensive.
she passes
It's
she
not a lob.
passes people with it. If her backhand down the line and on the clay is pretty lethal. I mean, today she
Mhm.
was playing against Alexandrova in Madrid, and she was just killing her down the line
Yeah.
with the backhand.
She has a little bit of time. It's
Yeah.
gone. Yeah.
So, and her movement is just like it's such a differentiator for her, because not a lot of the women move well on the clay. The top women move well on the clay.
Yeah.
Probably the best one is on Jabeur apart from her.
That's true, yeah.
And unfortunately in this tournament she actually got injured playing Iga in the semifinals, and it was so
Yeah,
sad
early
because
on, yeah.
she won Charleston,
good.
right? And she got to the semis here. So she could have troubled Iga probably.
Yeah.
The way she was playing, and unfortunately third point of the match is where she got injured. So
Yeah.
very, very early on. Very unfortunate to see that, but there are not that many good movers. Coco Gauff is the other one that comes to mind,
Yeah.
that moves tremendous on the clay, but then she has a huge weakness right on the forehand, so she can't really exploit it that much. Than her defensive ability there. So Iga just has too much of an advantage in terms of the movement on the clay,
Yeah. She does.
along with her power, because she has one of the heaviest forehands in the women's game, right? She has so much spin on it.
One thing I noticed, like, I think she's even holding her racket a little different on
Yeah.
clay.
Yeah,
Like, she is like whipping through that almost like a more Western grip
Yeah,
for
yeah.
tennis players, but she's getting more,
yeah.
revolutions,
Definitely.
more spin.
She hits a lot of spin for in the women's game, that it's not that common, right? You see most of the top women hit very flat. Like Sabalenka hits really very flat. Rybakina hits very flat. But Swiatek on the clay, that's a great weapon, right? I mean,
Mhm.
Nadal made a freaking career on doing that, right?
It's her idol, right?
Yeah, exactly. She's trying to emulate. So, and she's doing it well, right? She's doing it well.
Yeah.
I mean, she is the queen of clay at the moment. I mean, she is the best player on the
She
clay,
is.
and I think she needed to prove
And she
to
has
herself.
that confidence now.
Yep.
I think this tournament definitely solidified that.
Exactly. Yeah. So good result from her there. I think good result from Sabalenka too. I mean, she continues to be in these finals.
Yeah.
So she continues
Good
to show
stuff.
that she is, in the handful of best players in the world. I mean,
Yeah, it looks like she had a good win over Badosa.
she has some good wins this tournament. She beat Potapova.
Yeah.
Actually crushed her in the semifinal.
Ooh, first match.
She beat
too.
Badosa, and I think she also beat Krejcikova, right?
That's
Yeah.
pretty big too. Yeah.
She beat Krejcikova, which I feel bad for Kuchikova. She keeps running into Sabalenka
First
in every tournament, like in the round of
you did
16.
mention that.
Every time.
Yeah.
So she beat her once at least, but not this
Yeah.
time. So really good wins from Sabalenka all the way to the final. So it really is showing that she is still one of the top players, and her game does translate to clay.
Okay.
It's just that, while her game does translate to clay, Iga's game just goes bonkers on clay, right? It just goes way up. So it is still, Iga's turf until proven otherwise. Madrid might be a tournament though where Sabalenka could, that would be the best place for her to beat her on the clay, because it's, like we said, Madrid is a tournament that is high altitude. So it rewards aggressive players, particularly with good serves.
The ball flies a little bit more there.
Yeah, exactly. So really good tournament from Sabalenka. I think this really solidifies her spot at the top of the game. Any other notable results? I think Badosa, playing really well. Recently getting later stages of tournaments, having good wins. I think that's pretty notable.
Okay, what about Caroline Garcia and then also Coco Gauff and Rybakina? What are your thoughts there?
So Rybakina, she lost to Beatriz Haramaya. It looks like she had to retire.
Yeah.
So she might be nursing a bit of an injury or something. I have no idea what the issue is, but I know she already lost in Madrid as well.
Okay.
So she's not been playing that great. I mean, her game hasn't really translated that well to clay traditionally. So it just might be that she's not that comfortable on the surface. In terms of Caroline Garcia, it was a battle with Potapova. I think Potapova was actually the most notable player in this tournament because we talked about her as one of the players that was on the rise, right?
You mentioned
in the previous, I guess right before the clay started, because she was having some really good results, particularly really 2 battles in a row against Pegula in the Sunshine Double that were really close. And like you said, she has some good wins here against Caroline Garcia. Who else did you say she beat? Coco Gauff. 2 and 3. I mean, that was pretty impressive, I would say. And she also beat Petra Martic, who actually is doing pretty well in Madrid this week. So all of those wins are really good. And I think Potapova continues to show that she is a player to watch moving forward and seeing how high can she go. Obviously, she got crushed by Sabalenka, but Sabalenka is one of the best players in the world right now. So no shame there, I would say. Coco, man, she doesn't look good. I seen her play, and I thought she actually might benefit from coming to the clay because like last year she had a really good clay season.
Yeah.
She reached the French Open final. But her forehand is a bit like with the Tsitsipas thing, but worse.
Ooh,
like it's been absolutely targeted like every time by players now, and she cannot figure it out. It's not good. So I think now players know that this is a huge weakness, and unless she can change that, I think we're gonna see her lose a lot coming forward. And the thing is that she's had a good year, and if you look at the rankings, right, in the race and all that, she's still like in the top 10.
No.
So she's not having a bad year, but she's just having some really bad one-sided losses against players that, they're just below her, and they might be actually on the way up, right, to pass her.
I see.
People like Potapova or like Badosa, who beat her in Madrid this tournament. So, well, I'll save a little bit more of that talk later for when we go into Madrid. But there was an interesting press conference with Badosa talking about that specific thing about targeting her forehand.
Oh, okay.
So we can talk about it there. But yeah, I think in general this tournament just showed that we're back on the clay, and Iga is back in business, and she is going to be the player to beat on this surface. So wrap that up and move on to Madrid.
On to Madrid. Let's start off with the men's here. Okay.
Let's talk about Madrid.
Well, Madrid has already started since it's the new format, right? So.
Yes. What do you think about the new format? Let's just talk about it right now since we're talking about Madrid.
Yeah, I Yeah, I mean, from what I've noticed, I think they have a bit more time in between tournaments now,
Mm-hmm.
especially the top players,
Mm-hmm.
if they go far in these tournaments, right? So it might be a good thing to prevent some burnout. And, you know, I mean, a lot of people get injured just playing so
Yeah.
much tennis. And we saw Sinner had to, you know, granted he was sick, but some of these players could use a week or
Yeah.
a half a week off.
Yeah.
So I think it might be favoring just everyone in general.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I, in a way, like as a fan, like as a just pure spectator, it's a little confusing. I've always found Indian Wells in Miami to be confusing a little bit
When it
because
starts, when it ends.
yeah, because
Good.
they have, because the tournament is longer, they have this weird, like, 3-day first round or
Oh, and
something
the
like
draws
that.
come out like in
And yeah,
the
like in a
weekend or something.
Monday or something
Yeah.
like that. It's just difficult to follow
Yeah,
a
yeah.
bit. And it just feels like scattered matches are happening here and there until we get to the meat of the tournament. So in that sense, it's kind of like I don't like it that much. But what I was going to say was what you just said right now. Like on the good side of it is that you do get, as a player, you do get more. So let's say you're Carlos Alcaraz or you're
Yeah.
Dusan Lajovic or Brune
Yeah, a few more
Iga,
days.
that you just won a tournament, right? Now you don't have to go and play like 3 days later or 2 days later in the next tournament. Now you actually can wait until the weekend, basically.
Can party hard.
You can party hard. In the case of Rune, probably that's true. And then, you have a lot of time to,
Yeah.
get drunk and get back up and rest up and go play. It's the truth. Like, honestly, that's something that people like don't talk about that much. Like it's
They don't
really
even
good
have
in
time
that
to
sense.
celebrate, right? They're just already focused on the next one.
Absolutely. Like you don't have time to celebrate. You don't have time to like just recover.
Recover is the big one.
Yeah, all of that. So I think for that sense, in the end, I'd rather it be that way. Honestly, if you told me we're gonna have less events and we're gonna have 2-week events for the Masters 1000s, it's gonna be a little weird in the first week. I'll take it because I don't want to have what I have now, where what are we in May? We are in May. We still have not seen Carlos Alcaraz play against Novak Djokovic. Like, when are we gonna see that? We have 2 parallel tours going on right now, and they still don't converge. So if they had more time to rest up, if they had more time, to be healthy, we could see them play against each other.
It's also a little bit because Djokovic didn't even play though.
True. I
The
mean,
US
yes,
circuit,
that is true. But maybe a guy like Sinner could, don't have to take a week off. Maybe he can just actually, recover.
Maybe
more.
now Tsitsipas has some time to work on his backhand.
True. So maybe Coco Gauff can work on her forehand as
Yeah.
well. So yeah, honestly, I like that part of it. And if we can make that uniform across all tournaments and just remove some of these little events, or maybe keep them, but for like other players that maybe aren't able to make the main draw of this big events, they could go there to those events, right? To have somewhere to play. I rather do that, honestly. So I actually do. In the end, in the long run, I do like it.
Okay.
I prefer it. So yeah, we'll see if they do that with all the tournaments. I know they're gonna do it with Rome as well, and
really?
Yeah, so they're doing that with Rome.
Are they doing it
right this year?
Okay.
There's another tournament that's doing it. I can't remember which one it is.
Is Rome 1000?
Yes.
Okay. That's big.
The other, I can't remember what the other one is. Is it Paris? There's another one this year of the 1000s that's doing it as well.
Okay.
And there's 2 others that have already committed to do it, I think next year or the following year. One of the 2 are in the US Open swing. I think it might be Cincinnati that's doing that. So I think that's good in the end. But yeah, let's actually go into the tennis. And we should probably start with the number 1 player in the world.
Carlitos.
I gotta say, let's start with the results so far. His match against Emil Rusevori, that match was really good. I watched that as I was coming back for my conference. And I was at the airport watching it, and I was really scared that Alcaraz was actually going to lose in the first round. He was playing really bad, but a lot of it had to do with the conditions in Madrid, right? And we can talk about that now. So for listeners, if you don't know, Madrid has traditionally, people always talk about, high altitude is a very different tournament, and that is true. Not necessarily whoever wins Madrid or who looks well in Madrid will translate to French Open. Usually it doesn't, right? Unless you're Nadal. In that case, it does. But and the reason is because at the high altitude, what happens is that the air essentially has less pressure, and there's essentially less resistance in the air, right? So the ball travels a lot faster, and servers actually take a lot of advantage of that. So you'll see guys, for example, Alexander Zverev, he's never won in other tournaments on the clay, but he's won this one, right, in the Masters. So he's won this one actually twice. He was a 2-time defending champion last year, and he actually made the final again, where he lost to Alcaraz, but 3 finals in a row. So that tells you that the conditions are a little different, and it takes time. Like, if you're not ready for it, you could get surprised, right? And then in this match from Alcaraz and Ruusuvuori actually is kind of like Sinner. Like, his game is very similar to Sinner. I mean, he's like a, poor man's Sinner, right? He's not as good as Sinner, but he does a lot of the same things that Sinner does with, being able to redirect power. He's good off both wings, so you can't really target one side. And he was giving a lot of problems to Alcaraz. He was serving super well. Again, like we were saying, the serve, if you serve well, it really benefits you in Madrid, because the ball travels faster. So it was really helping. He was winning a lot of cheap points. And he actually easily won the first set against Alcaraz 6-2. And then in the second set, he was actually up. He was up, I believe, 3-2. And he had so many break points to go up against Alcaraz. And Alcaraz somehow managed to just survive in that game. And from them on, everything sort of changed. Like, Alcaraz just found his range. He was missing the ball a lot. Like, he was hitting it far, missing long a lot. And I think he was just not accustomed to, like, how the ball was traveling. And he just needed to adjust to that. Once he did, though, it was unbelievable. There was so many highlight reels in that in that match, as always, with Alcaraz. And he actually eventually won pretty easy in the third set, right? But I thought that was really another sign of Alcaraz being a champion, in the sense that he didn't have his best tennis. He really needed to adjust. And he was able to do that. And one thing he really did was he sort of moved back on the court, and started to take Ruusuvuori's serve much farther back, so he can take bigger cuts, and also had more because he was hitting the ball long, right? So he had more distance to give himself a little more wiggle room to land on the court, and that adjustment really, really changed it for him. So I thought it was masterful from him to be able to, in middle of the match, do that change. Yeah, so it was great. And now he's going to face Alexander Zverev.
Yeah.
In the round 16. That's a round 16 match. That was the final last year.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
Yeah, unfortunately, Zverev has dropped in the rankings a little bit.
Yeah. He's 13
due to that
now.
Crazy injury that he suffered last year. But yeah, I've been anticipating a match like this, for Zverev, and it'll be a good one, I think. I mean, he's serving big. I saw some of his highlights from the last match, and he won that 6-1, 6-0.
Yeah.
Pretty convincingly.
One of his best matches of the year.
So he's on an uprise, and it will just see where that ceiling is against Alcaraz. I think Alcaraz is the man to beat right now. So
absolutely.
This will give him, at least he has some practice before Roland Garros if he gets there.
Yeah. And the thing is that, we talk about how Alcaraz beat Zverev, in last year's Madrid final pretty easily, actually. But he did lose to him at Roland Garros. after that, right? He lost in
But
the
Zverev was
quarterfinals.
playing
He was playing out of his mind.
believable.
And not only in that match, he played so
Nadal.
well against Nadal.
Oh gosh, that
And
was
it was
scary.
so bad. Yeah, it was so bad. It was so sad that he actually got injured that way.
Yeah.
But he was playing unbelievable in that tournament. And he is capable. I mean, he's 3-1 against Alcaraz. Now, granted, the first two were before Alcaraz became Alcaraz. But still, I mean, if you have a 3-1 record against this guy and you beat him at the Grand Slam the last time you faced him, you're gonna go in with some confidence in there, right?
I think he is.
He's gonna be more confident than Tsitsipas when he played Alcaraz.
He knows these courts pretty well too.
Yeah,
right? So.
2-time champion in Madrid. So
exactly.
I think this match could be close. Just because Alcaraz, he's playing the best tennis right now, but also Zverev, he's comfortable here. He's gonna be confident, and he matches up nicely against Alcaraz, I think. I don't think he matches up that bad against him. I think they actually, like I said, Zverev, he also is the type of player who doesn't really have that much of a weakness that you can target. He just gets inconsistent sometimes. His serve can falter. So if his serve is not working, then it could be ugly.
Yeah.
But if his serve is working, then you can't really. There isn't a way to beat him specifically, right? You can't do the same thing. You just gotta play and just be at your top level to be able to beat him. So I'm really excited for that match. And I do think Alcaraz wins that though.
Right now, based on form, yes,
yeah.
I think so.
Somebody's gonna lose some points though because since they both made the final, right?
That's true.
So somebody's gonna go down a bit in the points. But yeah, let's talk about the next side there. So we have Khachanov playing against Rublev. Khachanov keeps doing it again.
These are the quarterfinals.
Right? This is the round 16.
Round 16, sorry.
Yeah. So making the later stages of events again. Good win against Roberto Bautista Agut for Khachanov. And he's going to play Rublev, who's really hot right now on the clay. So that's going to be an interesting match. Rublev has some pretty good wins, particularly against Wawrinka, Nishioka winning in straight sets. So he continues to show that he's really good on clay and that you're going to have to beat him. He's not going to just give it to you. So that's going to be an interesting match. I think Rublev does win that, though.
Yeah. But these are the quarterfinals.
No, this is round 16.
Oh, the next is
There's another page, I believe.
You're right.
Yeah.
2
Good
pages
point. There. It's okay. You couldn't see the other page.
Okay.
I forgive you. So the other matches there on the top half, we have Munar against Altmaier. 2 surprises here.
Yeah, that's true.
Can you guess who the upset was? One of the upsets in this one. Is becoming a constant.
Casper Ruud.
Yeah, unfortunately, Casper Ruud continues his bad form. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with him at all. I mean, yeah, it doesn't seem like.
Did you get to see these matches? I haven't seen them.
Not in this tournament, but I've seen his other losses, and it's just inconsistency. Just making a lot of errors that he wasn't making before. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's just burnt out or something. I don't know. It's just inexplicable. Nothing doesn't seem that different for him in his game. He doesn't look slower or anything like that. Not sure what's going on with him, but he lost to Arnaldi, who then lost in the next round. So
qualifier. Wow.
Yeah, so that's just an appalling loss for Casper. And then the other player that lost was actually Musetti, who lost to a guy who is kind of good on the clay. Was it Hanfmann? The German guy, and he actually does. He has had some good wins on clay before against good players. So not too worried about Musetti there. He's been playing good on the other tournaments he's entered, so I think I'm more concerned about Casper Ruud's loss. But yeah, as a result, we get Munar and Altmaier. Altmaier, I actually haven't seen him that much, so I don't actually know how well he is on the clay, but I know Munar is pretty good on clay.
He's a lucky loser.
Altmaier?
In this tournament.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, he's
It's
very lucky.
impressive.
Yeah,
He's gonna get some points.
He got some points all the way to round 16, and it is a good opportunity because Munar is good on clay, but he's not one of the top players. So this is an opportunity, right? So we'll see what happens there, and then the other matchup. Borna Coric finally has a good clay showing.
That's a good one. He beat Hurkacz last round.
That's a really, really good win. Beat Hugo Gaston in the round before that, who was pretty good on clay. So I would have expected him to lose pretty much all of those matches that he won. So that's actually good that he. Well, mostly because he's not that great on clay. But again, like we said, this might be also an artifact of it being Madrid, because he actually benefits from
the fast.
Yeah, the fast conditions. So that might be a byproduct of that. So he'll take on Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, who beat Holger Rune in a very, very entertaining match.
It was
very tight. It was 2 tiebreakers in a 5-7 set as well. So all of the sets went pretty much to the end. And Rune himself actually saved match points against Bublik to actually make that match. So he was living on the edge a little bit, Rune, in the last matches, right? And going back to the final in Munich, where he also saved match points. Then match points against Bublik, and finally he ran out of steam against Fokina. I think all in all, Rune has been having a good clay court season. I'm not worried about him. And
just needs to rest up, maybe.
Yeah, and happy for Fokina to have such a big win there. So we'll see. But this is good result for Alcaraz, actually, because if he can get through Zverev, he has a pretty nice route all the way to the semifinals, I would say. Even the finals. But maybe let's move on to the bottom half. So is the top one there Struff? John Lennon Struff. Is that the top one? On the bracket on your side? Top one there.
Yeah, it is Struff.
So Struff against Kashin. Struff actually beat Laovic. So Laovic has been, playing good on the clay. He had a big win against Felix Auger-Aliassime in the second round. And after winning the title,
win from Struff.
Yeah, it's a good win from Struff, and Struff is pretty good on clay himself. So good win there to keep the momentum going.
It kind of makes sense too, because Struff is a big hitter too.
Yeah.
And these fast conditions probably suit it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we're seeing a little bit of that pattern show, like in terms of the results.
Like we're seeing it there. Maybe picked him earlier, but now it kind of makes more sense.
Exactly. Yeah, he's gonna play a surprising round 16 player here in Kashin, who typically is pretty good on clay, but he's had some pretty surprising wins against Cerundolo first, and then against Tiafoe today. So that's really good showing from Kashin. He'll play Struff. And then the other side there is Zapata Miralles will play Stefanos Tsitsipas. So Tsitsipas beat Sebastian Baez today in 3 sets. And I think the match that I want to talk about here was his match against Dominic Thiem.
Yeah.
I watched that match in its entirety, and Thiem looked a little bit like his old self, just a little, like a hint of his old self. It was great to see him actually serve well and hit really good forehands, because the forehands itself has been pretty bad since he came back. So seeing him being able to actually turn it around and actually be very aggressive and very efficient with his forehand, particularly winning that first set. And like I said, he targeted that backhand. In the first set, he was 90% to the backhand serving on both wings, on the ad and the deuce court. And he ended up winning the set. So then after that, Tsitsipas went on a ridiculous run, right, with his serve.
39?
Yeah. 39 first serves in a row. That's absurd.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a record. I mean, he went went 2 straight sets without hitting a second serve. Like, it was the run started at the
insane.
Yeah, it's insane. The run started at the end of the first set, and the streak ended right before the tiebreaker in the final set. So He went
It's
the second set without hitting a second
Wow.
serve.
It's a little
Absurd.
bad luck for Thiem.
Yeah, I feel so bad for him because I feel like if
This
even-
would have been a huge win for him.
it would have been a gigantic win for him.
Yeah, this would have been huge.
I mean, there was a stat going around that Thiem had lost like 10 or 12 sets in a row against top players since coming back, like top 10 players or something like that. So he hasn't been able to win a set until this match. So
It's
good to see him
This
do that.
This was a great showing from Thiem.
Yeah.
Actually.
The one thing that I wish I could have seen more was his backhand. Like his backhand is the one thing that actually I thought was good when he came back, and it was a little bit suspect in this match. And he has such a great backhand, right? He's one of the best one-handers in tennis. So, but I am really encouraged with what I saw. Hopefully he can build on this and maybe do a little bit better in Rome, and we'll see. We'll see if he can be like a dark horse in Roland Garros. That would be fun.
I'll root for him.
Yeah, me too. He's such a great guy to have at the top of the game. But yeah, Tsitsipas beats him in 3 sets, beats Baez in 3 sets, who's, granted a very good clay court player. But still, again, like I see cracks in the armor a little bit. We'll see what happens with Zapata Miralles, who's another, traditional clay court player. Apart from that, we also have Taylor Fritz, another great showing, round of 16 here.
He's just popping up.
He's played so well.
Stages.
Yeah, he's played so well, and he continues to be, a factor in all of the events. It doesn't matter the surface. He beat Garin, absolutely crushed him in the first set, and then won in a tiebreak in the second. He beat O'Connell as well en route to this round, and he's going to face a pretty surprising player in Zhang from China, who beat Cam Norrie and Denis Shapovalov en route to this match. So
it's big for him.
Yeah. Great result. I think this is the first time he plays on the clay, actually, from what I heard.
Wow.
So
that's really impressive.
At least at this level. So that's really impressive that he was able to do this much. And now he's going to face one of the hottest players on tour in Taylor Fritz. So I'm interested to see how that goes. And finally, in the bottom, we have Daniel Medvedev. And remember this guy?
No one would have guessed him.
Aslan Karatsev. He is back somehow.
What, 2021?
Yeah. Well, he came out of nowhere that year.
He's coming back again.
And then he just disappeared.
Like peekaboos.
Exactly.
Comes through.
So now he's gonna face Daniil Medvedev in a battle of countrymen and friends, I guess. Interesting to see.
He had some good wins. I mean, he beat Van de Zandschulp.
Yeah.
And De Minaur. So
those are good wins.
Very
for sure.
good wins on clay, especially.
2 top 30 players.
Yeah, and it's fun to watch Aslan play. Actually,
when he's on, he looks unbeatable.
We're not joking, here, guys. Actually,
seriously,
it's amazing to watch him play. We've followed him for a while, and oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, his ground strokes are
so
insane.
Fun to watch, yeah.
But then when he's off, he's just off the rails. Just spraying everywhere.
When he crushes his forehand, it's just a beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does play a very high risk game.
Yeah.
But I think he's gonna have his hands full with Medvedev. I gotta say,
I'm excited to watch this.
I am very impressed with Medvedev. I mean, he's played
well on clay, right?
On clay. Like, what is this? He beat Zverev on clay in Monte Carlo. What is this guy? Like, he's showing up the results, and he does it again another week, and it doesn't look like he's not gonna make the quarterfinals. I mean, unless Karatsev continues this crazy run.
Let's go, Karatsev.
But he might have an opportunity to actually make the semis, right? Because Fritz is also another guy who, like Medvedev, is not really known for clay, right? So it's an opportunity for the both of them to make the semifinals there. But I'm super impressed. But yeah, we've talked enough about the draw. Maybe now let's go into predictions.
Ooh, okay.
I'm gonna start by talking about what I actually had.
Actually, I also did fantasy for this one.
I did fantasy for this one, and let's just say that
it's not working out.
It's not working out.
Yeah, not for me either.
So right now I have round of 16. Okay, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys out of 16
Oh, that's
still in.
You know what? I have the same.
5?
Yeah, I wonder if they're the same 5.
Yeah, we're both terrible.
Is it Carlos Alcaraz and Zverev?
Yeah.
Tsitsipas and Fritz?
Not Fritz. Tsitsipas,
Ooh.
yes.
Okay. Yeah, I have Daniel Medvedev.
Medvedev. So the only one that we have different is that you have Fritz
and who do you have?
and I have Rublev.
Oh.
Who did you pick instead of Rublev?
Why did I not pick Rublev?
Who's playing Hashanov?
Wait, where is Rublev? Oh, you picked Stan the man.
You went as a
I'm
fan
not
there.
surprised there. Yeah.
Yeah, so I picked Rublev because he's been very reliable. So there.
Yeah, that would have been a good pick, actually.
I also picked RBA instead of Hashanov, and that was not a good idea. But the other ones, some of them are kind of dumb of me. I mean, Felix to make this round, that I should have known better on the clay. But,
well,
I figured Madrid.
I
felt like it might
actually,
be better.
at that time, we wouldn't have known Struff would have gone through because
He was a lucky loser.
he's a lucky loser.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so don't be too hard
so
on yourself.
It's not our
Moral
fault.
of the story.
But let's go into picks. So right now in my quarterfinal lineup, I'm going to have to change my picks, right? Because I don't have...
You don't have enough.
I'll say what I have, right? I have Alcaraz, Bautista Agut in the quarterfinal. Casper Ruud against Holger Rune. Well, that's not happening.
That's exactly
Tiafoe and Tsitsipas. And then Kecmanovic and Medvedev is what I had.
Oof.
So I'll have to change that. Here's what I'll do. For Medvedev, I'll keep Medvedev. The other one, what do we have? Fritz and... Yeah, Fritz. I'll have Fritz. Give me Fritz.
Mm-hmm.
For that. And then against Tsitsipas, I had Francis. So I'll say that he'll play probably Struff there. And then Casper against Rune. That's now either Munar or Altmaier. I'll go Munar. And then George Davidovich Fokina. I'll definitely go Davidovich Fokina. And then on the top, everything else I have almost... Oh, no, it was Bautista Agut is what I picked. Did I seriously pick Bautista Agut over Rublev? What am I thinking? Anyway, I have Rublev against Alcaraz. So I have Alcaraz beating Zverev. Semifinals, I have Alcaraz, and I'll say Rublev. Rublev against Fokina. Yeah, well, you know what? I'll say Fokina.
No.
I'll say Fokina against Alcaraz. I'll say the other ones I'll keep as I have. I have Tsitsipas and Medvedev for the semifinals. So Alcaraz against Fokina, and then Tsitsipas against Medvedev. Final, a repeat of Barcelona. I have Alcaraz and Tsitsipas right now.
Oof. Okay.
I'm considering if I should change my pick to Medvedev. I'll keep Tsitsipas. And I'll have Alcaraz defending his title for the men.
Wow.
How about you?
So like a rematch, huh?
Yes.
Okay. That was very complicated. So
Very complicated.
I'm going to keep it simple and just go with whoever's left. Because my picks weren't that great. I had Stan the Man somehow making it through all the way to the semis. So
That was a pick of hope, of him coming
him
back.
beating Alcaraz would have been quite the show. Okay, so let's start in the top with Alcaraz and Zverev. I think this is gonna be like a nail biter, and I feel that Alcaraz is gonna narrowly win this one.
Yes.
So Alcaraz there, and I'm gonna have to go with Rublev as the other beating Hashanov. Granted, Hashanov somehow just gets here. He's also a person that we overlooked him again.
Every single show we say the same thing, and we keep doing it.
We did not even
there.
mention his name yet, and yet he's playing Rublev. He beat RBA, a solid clay court player, right? Well, granted, I always say that, but he's actually not a solid player.
No, he is. He's just better on hardcourt.
He's better on hardcourt, right? So yeah, I'm gonna pick Rublev there, and then I don't know anything about Munar or Altmaier, so
For me,
point toss.
I've seen Munar play good on clay, so
Yeah,
I'm going with him.
I'll trust you. We'll go Munar, and then you know what? I'm actually gonna pick Chorich on this one.
The
Probably
Madrid, the
wrong.
Madrid effect
The Madrid effect.
with the servers doing well.
No, I mean, I actually like his. He's like a fighter.
Yeah,
You know,
he's fun to see. I
He's
mean, when
fun
he
to
won
watch.
Cincinnati,
when he won Cincinnati, that was
yeah,
unbelievable.
that was great.
He was playing the best time of his life.
Yeah,
And I saw a little bit of glimpses of that when he played Harkach. Like, granted, he's one of those tentative players. I feel like he plays from the back of the court a lot. He just needs to come in more, I feel.
yeah,
But when he does come in, he finishes, I feel.
yeah.
So maybe he'll do that. Let's see. Okay. Going on.
Bottom side.
The bottom half. I'm going to go Struff against, how do you say his name?
Kachin.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go with Struff. And then also Tsitsipas. And on the bottom, I'm going to go Fritz and let's say Karatsev for the fun of it.
Whoa.
He's going to take out
Just
Medvedev.
watch him win this tournament out of
It's gonna
nowhere.
be amazing. Okay, Medvedev is out. And so let's pick the semis here. I'm going to go...
Wait, did you pick Tsitsipas? Or no?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, okay.
So in the bottom half, I'll pick Taylor Swift. It's not Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift is now playing tennis.
He's cute. Oh my gosh, Taylor Fritz. Oh gosh, that's embarrassing. Okay, Taylor Fritz, and
We know the music that you like now.
oh gosh.
Are you gonna be able to finish this podcast?
Okay, I don't have her tickets though, so
Oh,
we'll save it there. And then so T Fritz is gonna be
just be safe here.
is gonna get to the semis. And yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Struff on this. I think Tsitsipas, we'll see how he does. He's probably gonna pull it out, but I'm gonna go with Struff and Fritz in the bottom half. And then on the top, I'm going to go with Alcaraz. And I'm going to go George.
Okay.
So
Nice.
Alcaraz wins that one.
Alcaraz in the
In
final.
the final. And in the other final, I'm going to pick Fritz.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah. And
I can see that happening, actually.
yeah,
Fritz
and
making the
then
final.
Fritz,
Fritz winning?
no, losing.
Okay.
Yeah. He's
Wow.
going to have that press conference and say, oh, he's like the big three.
Exactly. I have no time to think.
Yeah. I think I'm going to pick Alcaraz again. Yeah.
Dude, I saw Fritz playing today in the first set against Garin. He was serving huge.
Yeah, that's why I think he's going to do well
forehand
here
was
in Madrid.
huge. Yeah, so he's dangerous in this event. I can see him making the final. I like that pick. I can see him.
Yeah.
I mean, if he did it on the slower courts, I think he can do it on this one.
I think that Fritz-Karatsev match is going to be unbelievable.
It'd be so dumb if Karatsev makes the semifinals out of nowhere.
It's going to be amazing.
Cool. So before we move on to the women's, I wanted one more question. So we have a finals rematch between Alcaraz and Zverev in the round 16. We both went Alcaraz.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome.
Let's pretend that Zverev actually wins that match. Do we think that he wins the title if he does?
Ooh. That's a good one. It's a real possibility, yes.
You would say yes?
I'd probably say yes. Because, I mean, anyone who beats Alcaraz has to be playing at their absolute best right now.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. I think the winner of that match will win the title. I think.
It's gonna be a head case if he doesn't, which I can totally see happening. Because Zverev has already showed that he's still, has the Zverev mentality of that U.S. Open loss against Thiem back in the day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we all saw what happened in Monte Carlo was between him and Medvedev.
Yeah.
The only thing that I trust is that if he beats Alcaraz in this tournament,
he's gonna get a lot
he's gonna get confidence, and he has won this tournament before, so at least he's already done it. So I think he'll be able to overcome. You could never discount the possibility with Zverev, but
someone else takes another toilet break. Is he gonna?
If he runs into Tsitsipas, he's gonna freak out. He's gonna freak out.
Well, watch he end up. Yeah, that's true. It's either Tsitsipas or Medvedev. But
yeah.
If
so either way, he's gonna freak out.
He's gonna freak out, and Medvedev would totally take it to another toilet break.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to take him off.
Oh my God.
2 games before he actually serves for the match.
Exactly.
Yeah, not even.
But yeah, I'm just banking on this is the one tournament where he has proven that he can win it.
Yeah.
So I think those memories might help, but definitely it's very possible that he still finds a way to screw it up. But we'll see. I think the winner does come from this match, though. The winner of this match, to me, wins the title. Okay, let's move on to the women's. Let's do a little bit faster here on the women's side. So on the women's side, we have Iga Swiatek. So the defending champion of this tournament is actually Ons Jabeur, and she was not able to participate because of injury.
That's
so
sad,
we will have a new champion. Iga did not play last year, so it's interesting to see if there is a clay tournament that you could probably beat her. This is it. I think this is the one. It is the least similar to Roland Garros, right? So I think this is the one where she could be a little bit more vulnerable. And I think we saw that today against Alexandrova. She actually had...
Oh, I don't have this...
the results are not updated there? So yeah, sometimes the results don't update
maybe now
on the PDF.
Oof, they did not. Okay, we'll just kind of go by...
Yeah, we can go by section there
Here
on the actual... So yeah, so she played Alexandrova today, and she was kind of on the driver's seat, and then eventually ended up losing that second set. Honestly, Alexandrova played amazing. Like we saw some of those highlights together too, and she was hitting the ball really hard and very aggressive, Alexandrova, and she is a player that plays very aggressive. She likes to dictate with her forehand and her serve and her forehand. She also has a very strong backhand. Two-hander, so
I like her play. Actually,
she plays great, and these type of fast conditions, like
she
plays well there. She's actually been a semifinalist in Madrid. I think she was last year a semifinalist.
Wow.
So she is good on this surface, and she really took it to Iga. Eventually,
Iga was playing some serious defense.
Yeah, so she was able to withstand that, and I thought it was very impressive that this is her first real challenge in this tournament, and she was able to get through it. Now she's gonna play. Who's she gonna play next? Is it Petra Martic?
Yep.
She's gonna play Martic next, and actually, I'm a little disappointed that it's not Krejcikova because she's had some good battles against Krejcikova, and she lost to her this year actually, and I would have liked to see that rematch between them. This is actually the first time where I've seen Krejcikova actually kind of lose a match that I think she should have won. She's not as high in the rankings or in the race this year just because she's been running into Sabalenka every single tournament very early. So she's not able to accumulate points. But honestly, I felt like she's been like the 4th or 5th best player of the year. So I think this was a little bit more disappointing in that sense. But we'll see. I mean, Martic has been playing relatively well so in this tournament. So it'll be interesting to see if she can bring that level against Iga. But with that, the other only thing that I wanted to talk about before we go into actually the quarterfinal lineups we already are at the quarterfinal is my concern with Coco Gauff. So we teased a little bit that Paula Badosa actually had a game plan against Coco Gauff, right? And she actually, she pretty much destroyed her in that match that they played. I can't remember what the score was. I think it was like 3-0 or something like that, if you can find it while I'm talking. But she...
Yes, 3-0.
3-0. So it was an absolute domination by Badosa, which, again, shows that Badosa is on her way back. I mean, we've seen the struggles that she has had. And she was at the top of the game at one point. So it's nice to see her coming back. But at the same time, Coco Gauff, like, this is a surface on the clay that she should be doing better. And she's not, because she's been a bit figured out. Her forehand is a huge liability. She can't consistently hit the forehand. She makes a lot of errors with it. She has no power with it. And people are just targeting her forehand. And Badosa just point blank said, that was my game plan. I was going to go to just hit the ball to the forehand. Essentially just get it there. Not even hit it, that hard to her forehand. Really? Just get it to that side. And she knew that she was not going to get hurt by it. So if everybody now is seeing that from her, she needs to figure out what to do, because this is going to be now the same thing that we've seen with Berrettini, the same thing that we're seeing with a little bit with Tsitsipas, although Tsitsipas has other things going for him that sort of helps him, to hide his backhand issues a little bit. But still, some of these issues, once you are figured out, like, especially against the top players, it's going to be very hard, right? So she needs to change something if she's going to be competitive again on the top of the game. Otherwise, I don't really see her getting back in the top 10, for a long time, like, unless she can change that. Now, I don't know how easy it is to completely change your forehand technique. Do you know? Like if it's easy to just switch the way you're doing it? I mean, we're seeing that with Thiem, and he's been struggling to do it. And now he's starting to get back, into being competitive with the new forehand grip and technique. But
it takes time.
It's hard.
I don't know. I have to look and see what's going on with Coco.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen her hit a number of times. And, I mean, previously, I think her forehand was amazing.
It was okay. Her backhand was what's amazing to me.
Her backhand is, but, I mean, she can hit hard on that. I guess it's just the inconsistency.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe she has to change something drastic, make a big change.
Maybe she'll need to do something like biomechanical or something just to figure out, like similar to what Sabalenka did with her serve. Like she literally
many people have done it with their serves. I mean, including Rafa.
Exactly.
As well as like Sharapova.
Even Djokovic as well.
Djokovic with his, he changed his rackets. She may need to change her racket. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Djokovic literally, talks about one guy named Roman out in, I think, in NYC, who changed his racket, and since then, it was a lot easier for him to hit some shots. And that was the same year, I think, when he turned, vegan and made a number of other changes, but it does help.
Yeah. So I think she's going to have to do something like that then, because it's getting really... It is a liability now for her. Right? She's getting crushed in these matches against really good players. And I don't think it's going to get better. Once one person figures it out, everybody's going to try the same thing, right? And there's a lot of people that can punish her on that side, on the forehand. So we'll see. We'll see if she can get it together. But let's go to the quarterfinals. I'll bring it up here on my phone because I have my bracket. So right now, as you can see from all the red on my phone, I have a bunch of incorrect answers. But the quarterfinal matchup for the women is Iga Swiatek against Petra Martic, Jessica Pegula against Veronika Kudermetova, who actually beat Kasatkina today. A pretty good match. It was a 3-set match, and it ended in a tiebreak. So it was a pretty good, pretty competitive. And then we had Zachary against surprising in Irina Camelia Begu. And then we also have Maya Sharif against Arina Sabalenka. So of those, I did not do well with my picks. I only have 3. I only had picked Iga, Jessica, Pegula, and Sabalenka to reach there. But from the players that are left, we can start with the top half with Iga against Petra Martic. I think in terms of predictions, definitely I think Iga goes ahead there. I think between Pegula and Kudermetova, that could be competitive, honestly. But I still give the edge to Pegula. So I'm going to go with Pegula there. Sakkari and Begu, nice. Definitely I'll go Sakkari. And Sheriff and Sabalenka, I'll go Sabalenka. So for semifinals, I have Sakkari, I have Sabalenka, I have Pegula, and I have Swiatek. For the final, I'll pick Iga, and I will pick Sabalenka again. So a rematch of Stuttgart in that final. And you know what? I picked Iga to win this title. I actually had Badosa in the final, which is crazy.
Oh. She could make it.
No, she just lost.
She just lost.
I'm gonna switch my pick though. I think I'm gonna pick Sabalenka to win this tournament. I think I'll pick Sabalenka to beat Iga in the final. So, yeah. How about you?
Going against Iga.
Yeah. Well, I think the conditions. I think this is the one tournament where she can be vulnerable. And I just don't think she'll sweep the entire clay. So I think this is the one that she might lose. And I think Sabalenka will get her revenge. This time. So I'll go Sabalenka. How about you?
I'll go quickly through my predictions here. For the semis, I'm also going to have Swiatek to get through, as well as Pegula. I'm going to pick Sakkari and Sabalenka. And I'm actually going to pick on the top half. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to pick Pegula to come through.
To the final?
Yeah, to beat Swiatek.
She has beaten her this year, so it is possible.
It's got to happen sometime. I think Pegula, she's gotten so close.
So many times.
She just hasn't had the win yet. So maybe this is the time. And I'll be honest, I mean, if Iga can keep playing, I'll be so impressed if she can keep playing like this.
The entire time.
It's hard. I mean, she's having to really dig some balls out, I think. And Pegula plays properly, or smart. With some smart tennis.
She has put some more pace into her shots this year as well. So.
And then I'm gonna put Sakkari, and I have Sabalenka here. So I'm actually gonna pick Sakkari. We're gonna go the underdogs.
Oh.
So Sakkari and Pegula. I think Pegula is gonna win.
Wow, that would be amazing if she does. You know, I think these conditions also help Pegula a little bit. If she's ever gonna beat Iga, I think this is it.
To do it. Yeah.
This is the time to do it.
So either, Pegula or Sabalenka for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, granted, in my fantasy, I did pick Iga to win the title, but I just changed my pick today in the podcast. Just so you know. That way I have all my bases covered.
Insurance.
Yeah. Okay, so let's wrap that up. So we're done with the results from the previous week. We're done with the preview of Madrid. And we talked a little bit about the news stuff that we want to talk about. Let's also talk about really quickly, just a quick thought, maybe 1 or 2 minutes, on what you think about the line judges going away in 2025. It's the news that came out recently that we're going to have everything going to be electronic. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, where are all these line judges going to go? They're just...
That's a good question. Gone. I wonder if they're going to just employ them in a different way somehow, but it might be that they're...
I hope they do.
Yeah. Do they use like that sort of experience to then go into chair umpiring? Is that like a pathway? Like how do you get to chair umpiring?
I have no clue.
Because I wonder if like
this
that's sort of the pathway. I wonder if that's part of it. Yeah, maybe we should come back to this discussion next week. Look it up a little bit, but I'm interested to see if like is that going to affect the pathway for newer judges, right, to get into the sport. Granted, it might just be from like just judging other smaller events, so it could be that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is still weird. I do like the fact that it's uniform because right now you don't never know in which tournament you have line judges, when you have, when can you challenge, when can you not, and things like that.
Yeah, but I mean, in a way, these things do change the actual sport, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when the challenging system came aboard, I mean, before that, the game was you'd have to argue and you'd never get your way, but it would change the dynamics when now, okay, I have like this computer on my side that will help me see that what actually happened. But it'll be interesting to see how. I mean, there's already events that are going on with this, but for all the events, it was going to be interesting to see how that changes.
Yeah. So yeah, let's table that and then bring it up again.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what the pathways is for some of these folks. So I'll bring it up when we do the recap of Madrid again.
Sounds good.
Final thing to update on is injury updates. So we have Rafa Nadal. Looks like there's good signs for Rafa. Tony Nadal had went on interviews and hinted at the fact that Rafa might actually be playing Rome.
Where do you find these interviews?
There's a few reports that came out.
Okay.
Yeah. And he
Carlos
now
knows all the Nadal news.
I mean, of course. I better know my favorite players' news. So yeah, Nadal is looking like he might be coming back. I did see him practicing recently. I think as recent as yesterday from some of his Instagram videos. So it looks like he might be at least back. We'll see what that means, if he's going to be competitive or not. Hopefully he doesn't draw like a terrible, draw in the first rounds.
Because of his ranking, right?
Yeah. He is 14, so at least he should be safe until at least the third round, not getting anybody too crazy.
He might face Karatsev. You never know.
He might face Karatsev, and it'll be game over. But it is good news for him, and for somebody who's not good news is going to be Matteo Berrettini. Looks like he's pulling out of Rome.
Yeah.
It's too bad he's not going to be able to play in front of his home crowd. And
well, I mean, he's enjoying himself at the Met Gala.
He is enjoying himself in the Met Gala. We did see some pictures of him.
As much as you know your Nadal news, I know my Federer news.
And apparently your Matteo Berrettini news.
Well, he was there. It's a byproduct.
Exactly.
Federer stalking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is a little bit sad that he's not going to be there, and he's just been so unlucky with injuries and stuff. So, we'll see. We'll see if he'll come back. I mean, the most important season for him is the grass. So hopefully he comes back for that at least and can be competitive there.
Yeah.
But let's wrap it up. We have one more thing to do. We have some trivia for Madrid. So I want to put you on the spot one more time. And we're going to do a Madrid thematic trivia. So I have a few options here. I'm going to actually just do one from the ATP and then one from the WTA. First one for the ATP, and listeners at home, you can play along with us as well, guessing this. So I'm going to give you a two-part question. The first part of it is going to be incredibly easy, so you're going to get it for sure. The second part is going to be harder. But who has won on Madrid, on the ATP side, on 3 different surfaces? And
I know this.
Second part of this is against who and on which surface each of those opponents.
Each one of the opponents. Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
So who is the
Okay.
winner?
That's Federer.
Right.
Um.
Can you name the surfaces?
He's won. Well, Madrid was a hard court,
Yes.
and then he also won in red clay,
Mm-hmm.
and then he won on blue clay.
Correct. Those are the three
Yeah.
surfaces.
The only one to win on blue clay, right?
The only one because it was only
Only
1 year event.
1 year.
I think Nadal and Djokovic complained and they
Everyone
kicked
else
it out.
complained, and Federer was like, "Okay, thank you. Let me take this one."
I'll take this one.
And you're talking about the opponents he played?
Yes.
Oh gosh.
So he
Okay.
won an indoor hard.
Yeah.
That was his first title.
I'm gonna say something like Andre Agassi.
Nope. I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
He has a
Oh,
In-
Safin?
no.
No.
He has an enormous forehand.
Enormous forehand. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Oh my
Wow, you got
gosh.
that quick from just that.
Everyone
You know
knows
your
that.
tennis. The other hint I was gonna give you is he's a great racket breaker.
He is.
He's one of the
I
best.
think one time he broke his strings or his racket or something. Just hitting a big forehand.
Wow. His forehand was devastating. Like it was so
Yeah,
good.
it was unbelievable.
Okay, so Fernando Gonzalez, that was the indoor
Okay.
time that he beat him. Red clay.
Oof.
It was actually the
Nadal.
first year that it became red clay.
Oh gosh.
You said who?
I said Nadal, but
That is correct.
oh wow.
He did beat Nadal straight sets, 6-4,
Wow.
6-4. That was after Nadal played a really like long match against Djokovic in the semis. It was one of the classic matches. And then
Oh,
Federer just feasted on him the next day.
thanks, Djokovic.
Yeah. They always do that to each other. When
They do, yeah.
But yeah, so Nadal. And then on the blue clay, who did he beat in the final?
See, this is tough. I have no clue. Was
This
it?
is a weird year.
Because I don't think Nadal did.
It was
well.
not Nadal. He
Yeah.
lost in the round of 16,
Yeah.
I believe.
I think
He actually lost to the person that made the final.
Thomas Burditch.
Thomas Burditch. Wow, that's impressive.
I do remember.
You
this
first guessed
actually.
Nadal. You first
No, I
guessed
didn't.
Burditch.
I knew it wasn't Nadal.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is that you
Yeah.
first guessed Nadal on the other one, and then you
Oh,
first
no,
guessed
yeah,
Burditch
yeah,
on
the
this
first
one,
yeah.
which is
I just
great by
remember the
you.
Burditch match. I do remember that one a little
Yeah.
faintly.
I have no recollection of that match at all. Like
Yeah.
I actually don't have recollection of that tournament at all, except
The
for the
blue
fact that
clay.
it was, talked about. But I think I didn't see
I
that
remember
tournament.
watching like a whole YouTube video of why no one liked that blue surface, and obviously I remember Federer won it, and I do remember a few highlights from that.
And you were like, I love the
It's-
blue surface.
Yeah, it actually looked pretty neat.
It did look pretty cool, honestly.
I wonder if they're gonna bring it back. They won't
I don't
bring
think
it
so.
back.
Maybe when Nadal retires, because he was very opposed. to it.
Whoever the tournament director is, they'd have to change.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's
Oh,
the ATP. We got one more. Great job on the ATP side of
Oof,
things.
this is gonna be tough.
For the women.
WTA.
Since this tournament became a tournament in 2002, right? 3 women have won this tournament multiple times
Ooh.
since 2002. Can you name those 3 women?
Multiple times.
Yeah.
So that just means more than one.
Yeah, more than one time.
I
Yes.
need a definition, please.
It is late.
Okay, first guest. Let me say Steffi Graf.
No.
With the
I
tournament
think she was
even-
retired by
Oh
then.
shoot! The tournament probably wasn't even on clay.
Right.
That makes sense. Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say Justine Harden. Justine Henin.
Jesse Hannon?
Yeah.
She is very good on clay.
But she's not.
But
the
she is
tournament,
not.
The tournament
But she is
wasn't
not.
even clay. Okay, Iga.
No, she's never won
No,
this
she's
tournament.
Never won this tournament. Oh, this is tough. Okay, wait. Let me think.
You want a hint?
Give me a second. Sure.
Here's a hint. One is very obvious.
Okay.
That's not a hint?
Hold on. Let's
If you were to pick one woman in the history of tennis,
Serena.
of course.
Okay.
Serena's one of them. Yeah, she's won it twice. She won it in 2012, 2013.
Okay. Maybe, let's see who else. Maybe her sister, Venus?
Mm-mm.
No.
She wasn't very good on clay, I think.
She was a Wimbledon
Mm-hmm.
player, yeah. Hard courts. Wait, so Serena, yeah. How many players?
Two more.
Two more.
One of them has won it twice. The other has won it 3 times.
Oh, wow.
You want another hint?
So these are some, like, when did the tournament become clay? Same time as
2007.
2007?
I want to say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot of time.
Yeah. Fun fact, this tournament was actually... So this tournament replaced another clay court event that used to be a Masters 1000 in Hamburg. So the Masters 1000 series used to be Hamburg, and it became Madrid.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
I'm going to say like Kim Clijsters.
No. Want a hint?
Sure.
Okay, one of these players has won a tournament this year.
Wow. Won a tournament. I'm not sure that helps. It's not Zabalenka?
Mm-mm. She's won it once, but not twice.
Mm.
Maybe by the end of this week.
It'll
be
come
twice.
back to you on that. This is gonna be tough. I don't know.
Think about winners of big events this year.
Rybakina?
No,
She's
it's a little sneaky, but
sneaky.
it should be coming top of mind for you.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Okay, I'll give you another hint with the same player. Who are your favorite players?
Oh my gosh, Caroline Garcia?
No, not Caroline Garcia.
She didn't win anything though.
No. Who won Miami this year?
Oh.
Who have you been picking for like 3 tournaments?
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
Kvitova?
Petra Kvitova. Yeah.
She's won this?
She's won this 3 times.
Oh my gosh.
She won it in 11, 15, and...
I just never pick her to
18.
win any tournaments. Oh, wow. Oh, this is so exciting.
Yeah.
This makes so much sense, too, because it's such a
It
fast
for the
service,
fast... Yeah, the
yeah.
fast conditions.
How is she doing, though? She's not even...
She lost already.
Yeah, she lost. Bummer. She won it twice? 3
times.
Ugh.
We got one more.
Yeah, I have no clue.
I'll give you another hint. I'll give you the same hint.
Oh, no.
Think of players that you
Someone
like.
else who won?
No, not someone that won,
Oh,
but
someone
players
that
that you
like.
like.
Oh, currently?
Yeah, players that are active
These are active players?
that you like.
Who else do I like?
I'm going to say active.
Yeah, active.
You haven't heard much of her this year. But she is active.
Trying to guess.
Players that you like. Should be easy for you.
I should know who I like, but I know.
I should know who I like.
Ooh, Layla? No,
No.
it's not.
It's not Layla.
It's not Layla. Yeah, I don't think she's won a tournament. Has she won a big tournament before?
I don't think so. She's gone far, but not actually won them.
Yeah, I'm kind of clueless on this.
Is Simona Halep.
Halep. Oh gosh. She's banned. Oh, we should chat about that at one point too, because she's trying to really fight this whole.
She came out and said something recently, right?
She did.
Yeah.
There's like a court hearing, but it's been so long since her like.
Yep. Let's get an update on this and talk about it next week. So we're gonna talk about this, and we'll talk about the.
Halep should have been on my list. Yeah.
So 3 women: Serena, Kvitova, and Halep. Those are the 3 that won it multiple times.
This might be
You did great on the men's side.
Oh
though.
gosh, I struggled on the women's side. Couldn't even remember my favorite players. Granted, she's not. She's active, but she's not.
She's considered active, but she's not actively playing.
Yeah, you tricked me on that.
Well, I did say active. That's she's something.
Semi-banned.
She's got a band. That's true.
All right.
She's just active on court, but not the right kind of court.
Well, that kind of wraps things up, right?
Yeah, that wraps things up.
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting app. You can receive all your newest episodes as they come live. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and most other podcasting platforms. So, yeah, please leave us a rating and a review. We'd appreciate your feedback. We're on Twitter, Reddit at Point by Point Pod, and also on YouTube. And you can actually see us this time at Point by Point Tennis Podcast. So, yeah, that wraps it up, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.